Hello, my name is Matthew Torkelson, and for my second field study, I went to the Church of St Ignacius Loyola on the 27th Sunday in Ordinary Time, Sunday, October 6th, 2019. This church is absolutely stunning, from the walls painted with murals to the towering pillars lining the halls, to the extremely high ceilings and stained glass windows. I felt like I was in some famous church in Europe, to be honest. The music of the Mass included an extremely large church organ, which was actually behind everyone sitting in the pews. It was just the largest organ I have ever seen in my entire life. Other aspects of the music included, obviously, vocals of a choir, and actually even a children's choir towards the end of the Mass. And I also picked up on what sounded like some sort of electronic synth, which I'm sure it wasn't a synth, but it sounded like a synth. And it was accompanying some of the singing. One song that specifically stood out to me as being above the others was A Living Faith, which was the offertory hymn. And it stuck out to me because it started with a singer singing one melody, but then it turned into a fantastic polyphonic piece with two singers just drifting in and out of harmony, which alone sounded incredible. But it was compounded by the church's amazing acoustics. And speaking of acoustics, the acoustics of this church were probably the best I've ever experienced. The sound just seemed to bounce off the walls in an elegant manner. And as far as demographics of the congregation, there are many rather elderly people sitting in the front, but the church had a ton of people to begin with. People from all ages, including babies, and I know that because while I didn't see any, I definitely heard them. And by observing the clothing of the congregation, I feel I can safely assume that the congregation had many wealthy people in it, which can probably be attributed to the church's location in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. If I were to use a scale from 1 to 10 to gauge the level of participation of the congregation, I would say it was about at a 3, a 2.9 maybe. There were a lot of people in attendance, and clearly many of them weren't usuals or just don't participate that much. It did not seem like many who weren't sitting at the very front participated at all, as a matter of fact. So nothing really stuck out to me as being an elephant in the room for being unusual, but I did find it unusual that the priest spoke on a special podium that had like a small ceiling over it, and it was placed on the left end of the church, sort of in this awkward placement, and I've never seen that before, but that definitely stuck out. So in summation of my visit to St Ignatius Loyola, I just want to mention 3 of my prime observations. Number 1, I found the music to be very simple, however it was still performed at a very high level, which was pleasant to listen to. However, my biggest highlight was the appearance of the church. It was thoroughly decked out in murals, gold, fancy stained glass windows, and was generally very elaborate. It made me feel like I was in sort of pristine place of worship, or even a castle. And lastly, while sort of a minuscule observation, I do want to point out that I was impressed by the extensive flyer that showed all the music that was played, because I was able to follow it along much better than the last one at Corpus Christi. The flyer was just very professional, and it felt like a memento that I could actually hold on to for a while, just from attending the Mass. And with that, I will conclude my second field study to St. Ignatius Loyola. Thank you very much for watching and listening.